Ecosystem tanks are the perfect way for people who want to enjoy a lovely planted tank without doing much maintenance. Follow along as I show you how I worked mine out today in this video. So what is an ecosystem tank? An ecosystem tank, by definition, is one that requires little to no external input to maintain a healthy living condition. Obviously, there's always going to be some form of external input into an aquarium. This isn't, a pond or a lake outside like a fully functioning ecosystem, but we can replicate a lot of things from those natural environments to create a relatively self-sustained system. So in this tank, the way it works is I feed my fish, the fish poop, they create waste that pollutes the water column in a sense, but the plants need that pollution or fertilizer, whatever you want to call it, nitrates, phosphates, nutrients from the water column. They use those as fertilizers to grow, and then I clip those plants out, toss them, the plants keep growing. You can essentially think of the plants as utilizing all of these materials that we can't see in the water column. They're sucking up these dissolved nutrients, like microscopic dissolved nutrients, and converting them into physical waste. And then we can toss them out, essentially overriding the need for water changes just by removing the waste that's converted into plant matter. And so you don't necessarily have to remove the plant matter, but at some point this tank becomes just like a dense jungle and there's no space for the fish to swim around in, and then it blocks the light, and then the plants start rotting at the bottom. So, like any kind of gardening or aquascaping, you need to maintain some level of weeding or trimming, hedging, that sort of stuff, just to make sure that things also look good. All right, so that's a pretty simple process as far as I've explained. So where things get a little bit more complicated is when we start talking about substrate. So there's really two different ways to grow plants using nutrient-rich substrate. One, you can buy product like this. It's called Aquasoil. Tons of companies out there make tons of different types. Aquasoil is basically compacted pellets of like volcanic minerals or clay, other sorts of nutrient-rich, soil-y like substrates. But the reason that I love it so much is they're compacted and you can really slope it up towards the back. You don't need to add sand to it because it kind of stays in place and it doesn't leach out tons of nutrients or kick up dirt when you add water in. For that reason, I'm a big fan of Aquasoil. Now, their other approach is to use actual potted soil, like literally dirt from outside. And this is not a bad idea by any means. Now, the idea behind capping the dirt is that it's not just a matter of aesthetics or keeping nutrients from leaching into the water column, but what that theory supposes is that by creating this kind of sand bed where we're locking in the soil layer underneath, we're promoting anaerobic bacteria growth. So that bacteria, the anaerobic bacteria, would produce some carbon dioxide that's beneficial for the plants so that they can grow, photosynthesize. CO2 is an essential part of any living plant's growth cycle. So I would say to those people who argue that you absolutely need to cap your soil to create that anaerobic bacteria layer is that it's not essential. Maybe they do provide CO2 to some degree, but so do the fish. And clearly whatever's happening in this tank is providing enough of all of those nutrients to these plants, including CO2. Fish use oxygen for respiration and then they release CO2, just like humans do. It's just happening underwater. And there's also some degree of diffusion from CO2 in the atmosphere into the tank. Clearly, these plants are getting tons of everything they need because they're growing just fine. At the end of the day, really the only thing that matters for an ecosystem tank is that you have enough plants to consume the fish waste. So the only important thing is plant to fish ratio. You can figure out different ways to set up your substrate, different plants, different hardscape. You can go with whatever design you want. You can use a filter in your tank, or you can not. In this tank, I'm not using a filter, but you do need to have healthy plants that consume fish waste in order to keep a balanced system. So part of keeping that balanced system is deciding what kind of fish you want to put in your tank. If you go and buy a bunch of really large fish, they're going to produce a ton of waste, and that might be more than what your plants can accommodate. In this 10-gallon tank, I've got about half a dozen Endler guppies and then a couple male German yellows, I think they're called. So overall, a really light bioload considering how many plants there are. They're easily able to uptake the nutrients that the fish are putting out there. So let me know, what do you think? Are you one of those people that believe you absolutely need to have sand in your tank in order to create this beneficial layer? As far as maintenance goes in this tank, I'm topping it off probably once a week. It's pretty dry here and the water does evaporate very quickly. And then I'm trimming the plants, removing surface plants in particular. The floaters are great for ecosystems because they absorb tons of nutrients, but those do need to be taken care of. Otherwise, they grow out of control. So I remove those once a month, trim some plants maybe every other month. And then I still have not done a water change on this tank. The nitrates are around 10 to 15 parts per million. So I might get to a point where I decide I do like a water change once a year or every 9 months, something like that. Uh, if you do decide to do an ecosystem tank, just be sure that you're monitoring things along the way so that you know that your fish are living in a health safe system. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know, do you like to keep ecosystem tanks? What sort of system do you use? Do you use aqua soil? If you hate aqua soil, have you ever tried it? Do you actually have a reason for hating it? At the end of the day, there's tons of ways to succeed with everything in life. Thanks so much for watching. Till next time, see ya.